Good evening and welcome to the February 23rd Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. A meeting was held at 6 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall for the clarification of the agenda. The following is the official agenda of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Discussion and commission action will be limited to those items on the agenda. Any citizen that wishes to address the commission shall first be recognized by the chair. If a citizen wishes to read documentation of any sort to the commission, he or she shall first seek permission from the chair. There will be a 3-minute time limitation for presentation to the commission. Agenda item number 1 is roll call and disclosure of conflict of interest, ex parte communication, and site visit. Matt, will you please call roll? Here, and I would like to disclose that I am helping with the town square project that's currently ongoing. However, approval of the downtown development plan is not dependent on whether this project will go forward or not.
Here, and I have nothing else to disclose.
Here, I was able to make a site visit to agenda item number 3, and I have nothing to disclose.
Present, nothing to disclose.
Here, and I made a site visit to agenda item number 3, and I have nothing else to disclose.
Agenda item number 2 is approval of the minutes. The commission may wish to waive oral reading of the P&Z clarification and regular meeting minutes from February 9th, 2022, and approve the minutes as written. Commission, do you have any questions or conversation about the minutes? With that, I would like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Rue and a second by Phillips. Matt, will you call vote, please?
Ruth,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Chandler,
Yes.
Fenway,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
And now we will move on to agenda item number 3, public hearing for downtown development plan. This plan has been set aside for the commission to hear comments from the public regarding the city's proposed downtown development plan. I would like to make sure that everybody understands the public hearing procedures. Everyone, please silent your cell phones. There is a 3-minute limit to public testimony. Names are required for those presenting and testifying. Questions and comments should be pertinent to the application and be addressed to the commission. As this is a public hearing, there should be no questions, comments, or applause from the audience. Should the meeting go longer than 8 p.m., the commission may take a scheduled 10-minute break. Commission members must make their decision regarding the application on facts already in record and information presented at the public hearing. Conflicts of interest, site visit, and ex parte contacts by the commission were acknowledged. At this time, I will declare the public hearing open, and I would invite Jim to come forward and share with us.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. Jim Anglesey, Long Range Senior Planner for the City of Pocatello. And I'm pleased to present to you tonight the Pocatello Downtown Development Plan draft that we are proposing for the city to adopt. The Downtown Development Plan has been a 3 or 4 year long effort between the City of Pocatello, Historic Downtown Pocatello Incorporated, and Utah State University, as well as numerous stakeholders in downtown, property owners, business owners, and interested individuals in downtown development. So what I'll do tonight is provide a brief summary of the plan. We have provided you copies of the draft, and the public interested can go to pocatello.us/downtown to view the draft as well. So the Downtown Development Plan is a vision plan to guide development and investment in the downtown area for the next 20 years. The downtown plan and planning for downtown is important because downtown is the heart and soul of our community. If you have a healthy downtown, you have a healthy community. And opposite as well, if you do not have a healthy downtown, your community suffers. This has been a fact for all communities everywhere. If downtowns suffer, the whole community suffers as a whole. And so downtown is very important, and as such, this plan becomes important to guide not only downtown investment and development, but future success for the community as a whole. So why are we planning downtown? One, it's to give a vision for the future, to provide guidance and to provide an idea for the public on the direction that the city would like to go in developing downtown. Now, this is, again, only a vision, and property owners aren't going to be forced into following the plan. It's a guiding document that, as it's implemented, can be moved around, shifted. It's moldable. It's a livable document, and so as it's implemented, further feedback and portions or details in the plan can change over time. But the plan itself gives a foundation to move forward. But this provides guidance for owners and developers who may be interested in following that vision. Like I had said, this vision came about with a group of people in the community. A combination of leaders in the community, business and property owners, and general public members have met for the past 3 years to discuss the possibilities or what the vision would be for downtown. And the draft that you have before you is what that group came up with. Now, the downtown plan is based on this foundational premise that downtown development occurs in our current economy when the community's greatest assets are identified, reinforced, linked together, and intensified within a downtown core. So what are the assets of the community? Over this process, these three things have been identified as three major assets for the community. One, access to nature and recreational opportunities. Two, a strong historic civic core. And three, the knowledge economy or access to institution of higher learning, which is ISU. So these three things make up, in general, the three important assets of the community. And this has been tested also with, as we're going through the comprehensive plan. Right now, this has also been verified in some of the information that we've got input from the community of what people are talking about, of what they like about Pocatello. And so downtown development occurs when these things are identified, reinforced, and intensified within a downtown core. Now, for planning purposes, we set forth a defined area for planning. Now, there hasn't been an official downtown area per se adopted by the city of Pocatello. Most people that live here know where downtown is, but there hasn't been an official area. What you see here is the proposed downtown area that fulfills that connecting those assets, that foundational principle. So the downtown area defined is that area between our natural assets, our knowledge assets, and comprising of our historic civic assets. And so as you see here, the proposed area would stretch from the Portneuf River through downtown as we know it today, connecting physically to Idaho State University campus. This slide shows just some of the organizing principles of not only downtowns but communities as a whole. but it really provides organization on how the plan, how you read the plan. So the way you organize a city is through paths, edges, landmarks, districts, and nodes. The downtown plan, as you see in the draft, is organized based off of the districts and nodes of the downtown area. And I'll just give you a brief summary of all those districts and nodes as we go through here, so you kind of know where we're going. So in this whole process of the downtown plan, the group decided that where you have this downtown area, and it's great to connect the assets, each of these areas within this downtown have unique attributes. Main Street is totally different from, say, Fifth Avenue near Idaho State University, as is the Warehouse District to the Port Neff River District. And so one of these organizing principles is to split up the downtown area into unique identifying districts. And as you see them here, each district honors that unique area, the form, the identity, the assets of each place. Each district has an area of activity or a node that will draw people into downtown and provide interest and attract not only for events but also for investment as well. And as you see, that tan area surrounding the downtown is what we call the transition area. This area is mostly commercial with a lot of residential, but this provides transition area into downtown. So instead of going from just a neighborhood directly into downtown development, this buffer around it provides a protection for our surrounding neighborhoods as far as height and intensity of development. So from here on, I'll go just briefly into these districts, and then we'll take questions on the plan. The first one is historic downtown. Whenever we think of downtown, we think of historic downtown, Main Street, Arthur, Center Street. This area is comprised of a majority of our historic buildings, which in the plan is proposed to protect those and celebrate those as a cultural and historical asset to our city. What's also proposed within the node of historic downtown is the Civic Center. The Civic Center would comprise the new proposed city park, or the city square, the library, and potential areas for a relocated city hall and potentially a recreation center surrounding it. This would create a strong civic center that we see in a lot of other cities. For example, Twin Falls has been most recent in our regional area, creating a civic area with a city hall and a plaza adjoining it on Main Street. Then additionally, in historic downtown, a node would be around the Union Pacific Depot. Building up off of what we already have, those existing parks that lead from the river to the depot, creates a strong connection to the ever expanding and desire to create a greenway and connecting it into downtown. This would bring additional interest in development in those areas. The Port Neff District is that area surrounding the Port Neff River. Most of this is residential and is intended to stay that way. One addition would be to create an area of activity or node where Center Street crosses the Port Neff River. This area has already been identified by the Port Neff River Vision as an area to break into the river to provide access to people to get into the river. And so creating an area where you may be able to have small opportunities for shopping and restaurants along a revitalized river section. Downtown East is that area on the east side of the railroad tracks, including what is known as the Iron Triangle historically, all the way down to at the Albertsons grocery store. The area of activity here would be the area coming out of the underpass, the potential for new public spaces. This area on the east side has no public space. All of it is private. And so the idea of creating a public plaza on the east side would provide an area for the public to gather. And what's also been discussed is the idea of improving the underpass, and in the far future, the idea of potentially building a pedestrian bridge over Center Street as well. The warehouse district is already comprised of historic warehouse buildings. The idea is to reuse those historic buildings for other uses, residential and commercial purposes, but to also protect those historic buildings. This node would be, what you see here is Varsity Commons. Again, we don't have any public space in that area, so creating a central gathering place for people in this area is what this is showing, directly adjacent to the Museum of Clean. And then finally, the BENGAL district ties the downtown area to Idaho State University's campus. And so what this does is bringing some of that energy from campus into downtown. And instead of having what we currently have is this strong edge between downtown and the campus, where students may not feel the desire to go downtown because of whether it's proximity or the improvements that are not there in between campus and downtown. So the idea of the BENGAL district is to meld the two together, with the idea of utilizing where there's currently student housing along Fifth, redeveloping that into higher density student housing and potentially student services or an activity center off of campus, where the university students can interact with the community and enjoy amenities of a downtown nature. Altogether, again, the plan is a vision. It's not so much dictating what should or should not be done. It's a recommendation for the community, if followed, will promote improvement for our downtown and additional investment in the downtown. And as you see here, again, connecting those assets of the community into one place. So with that, any questions that the commission may have, I'd be happy to answer those.
Commission, do you have any questions? Can you, and I think this is just something important, obviously this is just a vision, it's not a plan, so possibly like a timeline. It's not like the next phase is to get a building permit and go to town on these things. These are just something that you could maybe explain it better.
Sure. So yeah, it is a vision plan. If adopted by the city, it will provide direction for the city to identify priorities and investors that may come to the city looking for opportunity for the city to direct them to the downtown area and to look at the downtown plan and see if there's any opportunities that they'd be willing to take on. if adopted, moving forward for implementation, it is recommended in the plan to create a task force that will oversee some of the recommended implementation goals and objectives. But again, it's a living document, so those are subject to change. There's no, the city's not tied to going for, point by point. They're recommendations for the city to follow.
I have a follow-up question. So I guess, so you mentioned that this is a living document, so this is a guiding document. So I guess in the future, like, for example, like, if there's also community members who also want to provide additional information or possible ideas such as, I know, public sculptures or et cetera, that
Yeah.
also is utilized in other cities, such as like Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if those kind of like, then I guess, how often will you be updating this document since it's 20 years?
Every
right?
5 years or so, 3 to
Okay.
5 years is when, if we need to do major updates, that's what we would do. But yeah, for sure, if there are images or anything in here regarding somebody's property, that they don't choose to do that, that's totally fine. Again, it's a vision. We're not gonna press for eminent domain or anything like that. It's just a vision, and so if property owners aren't in favor of it, that's totally fine too.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I don't have any.
So our packet did include quite a bit of written correspondence. And then we received some additional that came in yesterday and today. Could you give us a brief summary of these just so we have an idea of, it's quite a few pages.
Yeah, the comments that we've received so far that you've been provided are across the board. A majority are in favor. Those that are not in favor are not in favor to certain specific details of the plan, not so much a plan in general. But again, the details can always be changed. We're not tied to any of the details in the plan if the city is adopting it. So again, pretty much all or most all that were against the plan were specific details of the plan.
One repetitive comment was based on parking, and is it not true that even if City Hall were to move downtown, they have to meet current code and they'd have to provide the correct amount of parking spaces, so that
That's correct.
all needs to be considered?
Yeah. One thing that we have noticed in this whole process is that the biggest problem with parking is people don't know where to park. There's no wayfinding signage or anything like that that identifies public parking. And if there is, it's very minimal. And so there is a section in the draft that proposes a wayfinding plan for people to find parking that they can park in that identifies whether it's public parking or private.
Another repetitive comment was using Utah University.
Utah State.
Utah State. Is it correct that they were not paid? It was a project done by a class or students that
Yep.
did this?
They were not paid for the downtown plan. The city expended no funds to Utah State University. They were consultants for free.
Okay. And then I guess the other thing is people are worried about cost, but I think you kind of covered that in, this is just an idea, and they would still have to just follow code that's out there, and it's not that taxes are going to go up and we're going to go start building,
Yep.
tearing down and building.
That's correct.
Okay. And then, any other questions for Jim? Yeah.
Has the railroad been consulted on this at all, or have they been brought in to possibly make their areas a little bit more public-friendly for viewpoint anyway?
Not at this point. They haven't
haven't,
been contacted.
Good question. Anything else? All right. Thank you. So again, before we start public testimony, I would like to remind everybody that you need to state your name when you come to the podium. Remember that you're addressing the commission rather than the audience or staff. You will be given 3 minutes, and you will be asked to stop when your time runs out. Please make sure you're keeping questions and comments pertinent to the application. And please don't duplicate questions or concerns or comments that have been previously heard today. So with that, I would like to invite anybody providing testimony by those supporting the application to come forward.
Hi, my name is Derek Jansen, and I've looked over all 76 pages of this proposal, and in my opinion, it's quite good. I've lived in 7 different cities in my lifetime, and every city that's been successful heavily invests in its downtown. I mean, the current sprawl that the city's undergoing a little bit is hugely costly in the future when infrastructure bills come due. So with a focus on downtown, that tends to mitigate those costs in the future, because each time a city expands, when those water bills come due for pipes, streets, the sprawl doesn't pay for itself. And so this plan of including more housing downtown, more businesses, it's just overall, like Jim said, there's a few specifics that I would change, but it is quite good. And I think it would be in the city's best interest to take this seriously and invest in it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm still trying to get the clock to work.
Go ahead. If you want to, do you want to give us technical difficulties, please hold.
Okay. Typically Ace Line does this, but hey, Matt, do you know how to set this
We
up?
at least got 3 hours to talk.
We only have issues when there's a house full, just so you know.
Okay, I
you
got,
go.
I think it's countdown.
Yep.
3, okay, now I got it, okay. Okay. Okay.
There we go.
Got
Okay.
it, okay, figured it out.
Is there anybody else who would like to provide testimony supporting the application?
Yeah, my name is Kelly Irwin Rhodes, and I'm 5th generation in Idaho. My mother was born at Ashland. My grandfather was an engineer here in Pocatello. And I agree with what this fellow said here. I think it's a very good plan. I looked at it. And yeah, I think the city should support it. I have a few questions. I don't know if I can ask
You can try within your 3 minutes, yeah, because others might
Okay.
have the questions.
Okay, that would be great. I just wanted to know if the Greenway, they have someone that's been consulting with the Greenway, that you guys are coordinating with the plan?
We plan to engage them
Okay.
for implementation.
So they haven't been engaged yet?
Not, I don't think so. Weren't part of the task force in creating it.
Okay.
But when the city adopts it, we're definitely getting involved.
Okay, great. Because you mentioned stakeholders, so the railroad isn't on board either, because that would be a really important.
Will you make sure you're
stakeholder.
speaking into the
Oh, I'm
microphone?
sorry.
And with the
Yeah.
mask, it makes it harder, I know.
You betcha. So I just wanted to make sure with the stakeholders that, I know it was mentioned that the railroad had not been talked to. And of course, they're going to be a really important part of, the plan and knowing what's going on with that old railroad building down there. Yeah. Anyways, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Anyone else providing testimony to support it?
My name's Taylor Wood, and I do support this because I think it's great for the city to have a focus and the priorities. And I think it's great for people who are putting money into the community, who are willing to put their resources here and bring jobs here, to focus them in old downtown and the downtown areas. It will drive, with the focus of having residential areas, it will bring people into those areas, and then conversely, more commercial spaces will come in. It's kind of the chicken and egg problem, and we need to have more commercial here because it will offset a lot of the property taxes that we need to raise revenue for in the city. So I think it's great for the city. I think it's great for the people to be able to have a focus to build the downtown area more and revitalize that so that Pocatello can become a strong, and not that it's not strong already, but continue to grow like a lot of the other surrounding cities have, and I'd like to see that. And I think this is a great opportunity and a great vision.
Thanks, Taylor. Anybody else in favor?
My name is Earl Stoddard. Born and raised here in Pocatello. My grandparents owned the Paris for years downtown, and I spent a lot of time down there washing windows and working down there as a kid. And I've always thought that it was a beautiful, wonderful place, and that there was a lot of opportunity for it to be actually one of the focus and showcase pieces of Pocatello. My father owned some little small houses that abutted against the Port Neuf River and that concrete channel. And for years, my wife has heard it again and again. I've been waiting for somebody to, and here are people who are planning different ways. And I've been following the Port Neuf River Reclamation Acts and all those things that people are doing. So I think it's great and wonderful. I have lots of questions. There's one thing to have a vision or a plan, and I think it's great to have it. But I do worry if there's no real action that ever happens, will people start to forget about it? And so I guess if I had a question would be, if the city adopts this, would they move forward with like stating what their first action would be? And I've seen that the town square or the park that's coming forward, and maybe that's it. But there's a lot of private property, obviously, that in this plan, and I know it's a plan, it's a vision, but that would have to be acquired, and then obviously a lot of money would have, and then the question is where would the money come from for the portions of it that would be city-owned, whether it be the squares, and then not just to put them in, but then to maintain them and to upkeep them. And so I think it's a great idea. I don't know if there was any discussion about how this would be funded, because I think that's an important question. If there'd be parking meters or parking spaces that you'd have to pay for or things like that. So that would be my question is funding and acquisition, and what would be the next, if the city adopted it, what would be their first kind of gesture or sign of like, yeah, we really believe in this plan, we're gonna move forward with it. And then after that's done, what's the next step?
For sake of time, we can both keep track and then you can rebuttal. Does that sound good? Okay. Thank you. We'll answer those. Well, when I say we, I mean Jim, but anybody else in favor like to come forward?
My name is Sherelle Walker. I think that the vision is an excellent one. I'm involved in the farmers market. My partner has a small organic farm, and we make our living doing that. And the current location has worked out awesome. It's grown so much in the last few years, and having parking is essential, convenient parking for people is essential to the farmer's market success. The intention with this new, I think it's the Civic Center, is to move the farmer's market to that location. I don't know what the city's intention is with the current location the farmer's market's at, if it's going to be sold or what, but I'm curious to what the city can do to help increase convenient parking if the farmer's market does move to that location, as well as solidifying relationships with the businesses that are down there currently. And if they have parking, can the city have a relationship with those businesses, especially during farmer's market? Because I think having a vibrant farmer's market is really essential to our community, in the sense that I think it brings richness to a community to have a strong farmer's market. And so we should value that and be supportive of doing what is needed to, and I think convenient parking is just being a witness to whenever there's events going on downtown and there's parades and people don't have a convenient way to get to farmers market, we see an impact. And so I think that's going to be key, is finding a way to make parking convenient.
Thank you. I will say quickly, the current location of farmer's market is not owned by the city, correct?
Owned by Historic Downtown.
Okay, that's what I thought, so that,
Oh, it's different than historic town.
Private.
okay. Anybody else testimony in favor? Is there anybody providing testimony by those uncommitted to the application? Anybody want to provide testimony opposing the application? Okay. So with that, Jim, would you like to, I don't know if you can call it a rebuttal if there were no opposed, but
I can answer some of the questions that were.
that'd be great.
So I have, if the city adopts it, will the city provide updates and how it will be paid for? The recommendation in the plan is to have a task force that oversees the implementation of the plan. Now, it's also recommended that yearly updates on the implementation status will be released to the public to provide updates on how the plan is going. And any roadblocks or changes that need to be done would be done in those updates. And so the public should expect at least a yearly update regarding plan implementation. How it will be paid for, because it's a vision, we rely on property owners to be a part of the vision as well. Or investors. And so investors that may want to come into downtown and redevelop a certain area, that would be the bulk of redevelopment costs would be investors or property owners. When it comes to public spaces, that would either be paid for through grants, donations, or public money. At this point, we don't have what the cost would be or where the money is coming from. Again, it's just a vision of ideas. As far as where it's at right now, the park and the proposed civic center is essentially first priority since it's already begun. That would be first priority of the plan, to create this new park, which is all being paid for by private funds, which will then be donated to the city. Simplot Square is already maintained by the city as a public park, and so additional tax funds we won't see much of a change there because there's already maintenance done in that area. And hopefully that answered those questions. And how can the city increase the convenient parking? A portion of that is to identify what's public parking and what isn't. And then collaborating with those business or property owners that own private parking lots to see if there can be some sort of a partnership to provide public parking during off-business hours. So for example, the farmer's market, if the areas within the new town square, surrounding the new town square, if we can reach an agreement with the private owners of those parking lots to utilize that during farmer's market, that's what we'd want to achieve, is to create a partnership. If you look through the plan, there are ideas of potential parking structures within the downtown area. That would be another option, a costly option, but as intensity of development would be expected to increase, the need for a public parking garage may be needed. Again, that's totally vision preliminary. Nothing's been discussed in that, so facts, figures, or money, or who's going to pay for it have not been discussed. That's all I've written down. Were there any other things that
The other things that I wrote down were just about collaborating with the Greenway and the railroad. And I think those would probably, in the details, when you're working with those districts that are close to those things.
Yeah, that's when we involve them. Again, the standing task force to implement the plan. We definitely want to include those groups if they are willing to participate.
Commission, any more questions for Jim that have arisen?
I have a question. In regard to the task force, I was wondering if we have an idea of who would comprise that task force? Is it a public or private? Is it a board? Does that include stakeholders on the board if that is the setup?
Ideally, it wouldn't be a commission like this, an official city commission. It would be a group of people, investors, business owners, property owners downtown. And it hasn't really been discussed of who would comprise that, but at least a representative from each of those districts. Historic Downtown Pocatello, the city, and organizations such as the Greenway and Union Pacific, as well as the tribes, because they have an interest in downtown as well.
Thank you. That was my next question.
Okay. No? Okay, thank you. With that, I declare the public hearing closed. At this time, Commission, any conversations, further questions? If not, I would entertain a motion. And just a reminder, tonight's motion will be just a little bit different. We will be making a motion to approve or deny recommendation to City Council.
So I'll make a motion to approve the guiding document with signing of the findings of the facts by the chairwoman.
I'd second that.
We have a motion by Rue and a second by Roberts. Matt, will you call vote?
Rue,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Benoit,
Yes.
Chanda,
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
And with that, the motion carries, and the City Council meeting, so see, I'm trying to put us in more work already. Planning and Zoning Commission meeting is closed for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.